The first picture from Mars is not majestic. It is awkward, grainy, almost shy, a metal footpad, scattered rocks and dust under alien sunlight. No sunrise over Olympus Mons. No heroic red desert stretching forever. Just proof that something human-made had touched another world and stayed upright. For centuries, Mars had been a dot, a rumor, a canvas for canals, cities, monsters, microbes, and every hope we projected upward. Then, on July 20th, 1976, the red dot became a place with weight, a place with dust, a place with a footprint. Viking 1 launched from Cape Canaveral on August 20th, 1975, beginning a voyage built to do more than fly past Mars. NASA says Viking 1 entered orbit around Mars on June 19, 1976, after nearly a year crossing interplanetary space. That orbit mattered. Engineers needed safer ground than fantasy. They searched for a landing site that would not swallow their machine. The target became Chryse Planitia, a broad northern plain whose name means golden plain, chosen after orbital images narrowed the risks. Picture the control room, white shirts, thick glasses, coffee cooling and paper cups. Every voice careful, because Mars had ruined missions before. The Soviet Mars 3 lander reached the surface in 1971, but contact ended seconds later, leaving success painfully unfinished. NASA identifies Viking 1 as the first truly successful mission to land on Mars and transmit images from the surface. The triumph did not arrive as a sweeping movie shot. It came slowly, line by line, like a ghost developing in a chemical tray. NASA's photojournal describes that first surface image plainly, the first photograph ever taken on the surface of the planet Mars. The image was taken minutes after landing, and it showed rocks, dust, and part of Viking's footpad. That is what makes it powerful. The first portrait of Mars looks less like conquest than confirmation. The ground is real. Before that frame, Mars belonged to telescopes and equations. After it, Mars belonged to geology, to grit, to surfaces that could resist pressure. The Planetary Society puts the emotional shift cleanly. No one knew what Mars looked like up close until that day. And up close, Mars was not a dreamscape. It was rough, pitted, pebbled. A cold construction site built by wind and time. Viking 1 landed on the 7th anniversary of Apollo 11's moon landing, tying one impossible human milestone to another. But unlike Apollo, no human could climb down a ladder and speak. Viking had to be our hands, eyes, nose, and patience. Viking was not just a camera. It carried a suite of experiments meant to study Martian soil, weather, chemistry, and possible biology. That word, biology, still changes the temperature of the room. Softly. Because Viking did not go only to see Mars. It went to ask if Mars was alive. NASA's summary is cautious. Viking's biology experiments found unexpected chemical activity, but no clear evidence of living microorganisms near the landing sites. That caution matters. Science is not a courtroom drama where the music swells and the verdict arrives before the credits. One Viking experiment added nutrient solution to Martian soil and watched for gases that could suggest metabolism. The soil reacted, not lazily, not invisibly. It reacted enough to make some scientists lean forward and others fold their arms. Was that chemistry pretending to be life, or life hiding inside chemistry? The question has never entirely left the Martian dust. NASA's Viking overview says the mission found no clear evidence for living microorganisms, despite those intriguing reactions. Here's the haunting part. Ambiguity is not failure. Sometimes ambiguity is the shape discovery takes before we have the right language. The Viking orbiters returned more than 52,000 images and mapped about 97% of Mars at hundreds of meters resolution. Those maps turned Mars from a symbol into terrain, valleys, plains, craters, channels, not mythology, geography. Viking 2 followed with another lander and orbiter, extending the mission's reach beyond one lonely patch of Chryse Planitia. Still, the first footpad image has a different authority. It does not explain Mars. It introduces Mars. If you revisit one Viking image today, make it that first one. Let your eyes adjust before you ask it to impress you. Notice the humble things first. The curve of the pad, the disturbed powder, the little stones that suddenly became neighbors. That is how exploration often arrives. Not with trumpets. With a small practical view that proves the next question can be asked. Viking 1 continued working until November 11, 1982, when a faulty command ended communications with the lander. For more than 6 years, a machine sat on Mars and kept reporting home across millions of miles of silence. The lander sent back weather measurements, soil data, and images long after the world had moved on to other headlines. There's something almost monastic about that endurance, a metal witness keeping vigil beneath a salmon-colored sky. And always, beneath the engineering success, the old question breathed, did Viking taste dead soil, or did it misunderstand living soil? Modern Mars missions carry that inheritance. Every drill hole, every scoop, every sealed sample tube walks through Viking's unanswered doorway. NASA describes Viking as a mission that included orbiters and landers, built to investigate Mars from above and from the ground. That dual view changed everything. The orbiter gave context, the lander gave contact. One mapped the world. One touched it. NASA history notes, Viking launched during an era when planetary protection and spacecraft sterilization were central to Mars exploration. The fear was simple and profound. If we were searching for Martian life, we could not bring Earth life as a stowaway. That is worth remembering now, as sample return debates ask how boldly we should reach and how carefully we should bring pieces back. Viking's first photograph is not only an image, it is a threshold. Before it, Mars resisted touch. After it, Mars had texture. Listen to what it does not show. No astronauts, no flag ceremony, no cheering crowd, just a machine proving the ground beneath it. That restraint gives the photograph its dignity. It does not shout, "We arrived," it whispers, "This place can be known." NASA's Viking page emphasizes the mission's surface images as a turning point in direct human knowledge of Mars. And direct knowledge is different. A red dot can inspire poetry. A rock beside a footpad demands geology. So when you see modern rover panoramas, with crisp horizons and layered cliffs, remember the first view was smaller and braver. It taught us that another planet could be entered through a detail, a bracket, a shadow, a dust ring around a metal pad. The lander's mission outlived its planned lifetime, becoming one of the longest early vigils ever kept on another planet. By the time Viking fell silent, Mars had changed in the human mind. It was no longer only distant, it was awaiting return. If this story hit that quiet place in you, a like or subscription helps more people find these small world-changing moments. Then do one more thing. Pull up the original image. Don't scroll past it. Stay with it for a breath. Consider asking what the camera asked, not, is Mars spectacular, but, what can this surface tell us if we listen carefully? That is the Viking legacy at its best. Not certainty, discipline, patience, the willingness to let Mars answer in its own grammar. Because maybe the most important photograph is not the beautiful one. Maybe it is the one that makes belief unnecessary. After Viking, Mars did not need to be imagined from scratch. It could be studied from contact outward. The Viking mission remains a foundation for later Mars exploration, from landing site selection to the search for habitability. Every rover since has inherited that first act of trust, descend through the thin air and believe the ground will hold. But Viking also left us a warning. A planet can answer, and we can still be unsure what language it used. NASA's conclusion remains measured, tantalizing chemistry, no definitive biology, and a question still open enough to shape future missions. That open question is not a footnote. It is the hinge between old Mars, dead Mars, and the Mars we keep testing. Did we already see a signal and call it noise? Or did Mars teach us that strange chemistry can imitate a heartbeat? That is why the footpad still matters. It anchors the mystery. Whatever Mars is, Viking proved it is not abstract. On July 20th each year, Viking 1's landing anniversary marks the day Mars first answered from its surface with an image. Not a grand panorama, not a human face. A footpad, rocks, and dust. Enough to make another world feel solid.